They just keep just enough of them around to continue to keep the race going and no more. Still, in some parts of the world today, many parts of India and many parts of the world today, when girl babies are born, it's a very big letdown. And when boy babies are born, they have a party practically. Enough girls were allowed to continue the race, but no more than what was needed. And this was decided by the patriarch of each tribe or the family leader. And nobody could say anything about it one way or the other. This went on for thousands of years, and it went on definitely during the Greco-Roman period. It went on up into the period of Jesus' day. The boys were only killed if there was an obvious defect. Yes, we can all agree that this is barbaric, monstrous, horrifying, mind-numbing, wicked, and disgusting, and evil. I bet we can all agree on that. I bet we could get everybody that even professes to be a Christian to agree on that. Yeah. This is absolutely beyond belief to us, isn't it?
Amen.
What about satanic? Would you say that it's satanic?
Amen.
Demonic? Would you say that? All pagan religion is demon worship. I don't care what it is.
Amen.
So what about the major religions? All of them are demon worship. There's no middle ground between God and the devil man.
Amen.
There's no middle ground. You're either worshiping God or you're worshiping demons.
Amen.
There's no middle ground. All demonic religion involves, in the past, has involved this. Yes, Satan was having a field day, and it broke my heart when I found out about this. Now, soon after the time of Christ, something started to happen. Christians started gaining a reputation for going out to the edges of town. And they would get the girl babies and take them home. That's right. And if there were any boy babies, they would do the same. And this was very, 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 very unusual. Unheard of. They'd take them home and they'd raise them. You'll meet some of them one day. We have correspondence between rulers and different people in the ancient world. Somewhere around 100 AD, 110, 120 AD. In those letters that we have uncovered, we see them talking about this very thing. What a testimony. What a testimony that the Christians had. One ruler writes to another ruler, my, how the Christians love one another. That's what they need to be able to see today.
Amen.
That's what the world needs to be able to see today. Christians were opposing abortion from the very first.
Amen.
The Christians started to influence Greco-Roman society to stop killing these babies. Now, it didn't happen overnight, but after about 300 years later, it was virtually eliminated by the Christian church's moral code. Right
Amen.
after the deaths of the apostles, we have the writings of the church fathers. Now, they were just church leaders. They're called church fathers. They weren't the real fathers of the church, but they were just church leaders. And they preached, and we have some of their sermons. They wrote. We have some of their writings. And we have in them preaching and writing about the sanctity of human life at every level, before and after the child is born. Real Christians have always stood against this atrocity.
Amen.
Well, for the next 1,500 years or so, we don't hear much about abortion. Oh, maybe some of it might have been done in secret or something like that, or illegally from time to time, but it was never mainstream ever again until, and I say this shamefully, until, get this, mid-1800s in America. 1840 was like the start of a super promiscuous time in the life of America. Now, most of the women up to that time averaged about 7 children. You had large families. But by the end of the century, the average is down to 3.5. By 1900, the New York Gazette, as it was called then, was displaying page after page after page after page of advertisements concerning abortions. It was birth control. Abortion was birth control then. We think of birth control, we think of some other things, but abortion was America's birth control at that time. Predictions were that during this time, anywhere from 1/5 to 1/3 of all babies in America died in abortions. How many of you knew this? 1900. Well, I didn't know it either until this week. I'm passing it along. I think you ought to know about this. I think you have a right to know about this.
Amen.
And it's my job to put you in remembrance. I didn't know about it this week until I was preparing this message. Didn't hear about it in history class, didn't hear about it on the news, no TV documentaries. Now this information is not exactly a secret, but it's not exactly mainstream information either.
Amen.
Now how did this get stopped? It did get stopped. Now how did it get stopped? Somewhere around the early part of the 20th century. Two groups, the AMA, that's the American Medical Association, which was just getting started, they lobbied for it to be stopped. And number two, and get ready for a surprise, the early feminist movement helped to get it stopped. Because they realized they had enough sense back then to realize that this is not only a crime against little babies, this is a crime against women.
Amen.
This is an exploitation of women. Now, very, very soon afterwards, I don't have the number, but there were laws on the books making abortion illegal. The move to legalize abortion was once again started up in the late 1960s. From 1967 to 1969, the abortion crowd started lobbying the government for the permission to perform what they were calling therapeutic abortions. That's what they called it. That's how they introduced it. Well, eventually the Supreme Court gets involved with Roe versus Wade in 1973, and the rest is history. Then it becomes legal again. Now in the whole world, about 44 million babies are aborted globally. 44 million per year. Do you know what the Lord's going to do about that? I can tell you. Say, why didn't the Lord stop all this? He is going to.
Amen.
It's 21 judgments. They're called the seal judgments, the trumpet judgments, and the vial bowl judgments.
Amen.
God is going to punish this world for it.
That's right.
He is going to make the world pay for this. It's called Armageddon. It's called meteors falling out of the sky. One of them's even got a name in Revelation. It's called Wormwood. All these documentaries about all the meteors. Yes, there are two coming. One of them's even got a name in Revelation. There are two coming. They're called earthquakes. An earthquake, which is going to be so bad that hills, mountains are going to be removed and islands are going to disappear. Yeah, God is going to judge. God is absolutely furious about this. And
Amen.
We should be too. Now, what does God say? We don't have time to look at how much God says about this. We've already looked at some of the verses that shows us what God thinks about this. But over there in Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, it says, "So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female created he them." So when I say man in the universal context, I'm talking about you ladies too, just as much as the men. Now what does that say to us? In the time that I have left, here's what it says. All of life is sacred to God.
Amen.
Amen.
They even had instructions in the law on how to treat their animals. All of life is sacred to God. Human life is the most valuable commodity in the world.
Amen.
Amen.
Because it's special. God created us, the human being, in His image. He did not create the animals in His image, but He created us in His image. evolution would tell